I wanted to talk about prospecting. So many times people are mailing out 3,000 pieces of mail a month, 5,000 pieces of mail a month, and we do a lot less mail than most people. And so I'm just going to go in and show you how I do some prospecting. And about 45 minutes ago, I started prospecting. I came up with about 5 good leads that I thought that needed to sell, but I'm going to go ahead and show you a few of those as well. These are many of the niches that I market to, and there's 4 of them here. And when I'm building my list, instead of building just generic list, I want to build a list of people that are more likely to sell. These are the 14 categories. But then after I do that, I'll go ahead and have my list and I'll run it through Versium, which this is PropStream information on the left here, owners' names, addresses, mailing addresses, property addresses, assessed values. But then as I scroll over here, I take my list of people that I believe are motivated, run it through Versium, and this is where I get some of my additional niche lists. So this is credit scores here, this is income here, and this is age here. So earlier today, I cross-reference some of these. You can see number 36 here. The people have a 499 credit score. They're making about $20,000 a year, and the age is 75. Instead of mailing to everybody on this list, I search some of these just one at a time, and I'm going to go through this process now. And when I get through the process, it takes about 5 minutes per record, and I can get through that and say, these people need to sell. This is a property I want to pursue. So I'm clicking on the assessor's parcel number, or we'll do this one, 3005 North Roosevelt Street. So the order I go in, I go to the appraiser's website. Right here, I put in 300 North Roosevelt Street, and this is the record that corresponds with this one here. And again, you can see the credit score, the income, and the age. And so again, my first stop is the appraiser's website. I can see what it's assessed at. I can see they bought this property in 1970. They bought it 50 years ago. And then the next thing I'm going to do is click on the taxes. And when I click on the taxes, you can see they are 3 years behind. And as I go back here, for many years, they were so far behind, it was going to go to a tax deed sale. So far, it's telling me to go ahead to the next step. So I've got Madeline Evans. She's behind on the taxes. She's got a low credit score, $12,000 or $20,000 worth of income, and 75 years old. But here it says in the estate of. So that's a good indicator that she's deceased. So the next thing I did, I went to now I'm on a different website, Escambia County Official Record Search. This is the county recorder. I put in her name, and what this brings up is anything that's recorded in her name in the county. So again, just doing due diligence, but I see that she had some liens here, a code enforcement lien, and it said it was amended. So when I click on amended, you'll see she had $40,000 in liens against this property, but many years ago, they were released. So now there's dollars of liens on the property. So it's still telling me to go forward. And as I look at comps from the appraiser's website, in red right here is her property. And right here, this one that's highlighted, this property sold recently for $20,000. So this is a great comp right here for $20,000. And I can look at the information on this comp. These people bought this property just about a year ago right here for $20,000. So it's a good indicator I can probably sell this for $20,000. And there's another one here for $12,500. And this one was Habitat for Humanity bought this one for $12,500 a couple of years ago, and we sold 11 properties to Habitat for Humanity right there. So again, I went to my PropStream list, I ran it through Versium, I went to the appraiser's record here, and I can see it's in the estate of, so it's a good indicator she's deceased. I can see that they're behind on taxes here. I can see that there's a good comparable at $20,000, and as I continue through, I went ahead and put her into this system. It's called IDI Core, and this helps me do additional background information.
Quick question, Michael.
Yes.
So I'm guessing since the homeowner is deceased, I'm guessing you will be looking for relatives who
exactly
property. Okay.
Yeah. So I put her in here, and I'm going to search. This is my search history, and here she is. Here I ran it earlier, 45 minutes ago. And usually, if they're deceased, it will show deceased right here. But I can see the property address here, and it shows she's lived in Cincinnati for some time. But what I need to find out is it probably is going to have to go through probate. And when I click on here, it says other relatives. And when I click on other relatives, here's Patricia Evans here. So Patricia, same last name, is most likely a sister. So when I click on Patricia, now Patricia's deceased. I hadn't done this before. So now they're both deceased. So what I have to find are who could other relatives potentially be. And here under Patricia, I can see that she has children. That could be a possibility, or other relatives here. Here's Janice Evans. That might be another sister right there. Johnny Evans. So it's a matter of skip tracing. So I've got a property that the taxes haven't been paid for years. She's deceased. And most likely what would have to happen is this property would have to go through probate, but I have to find who are her heirs. And so a lot of times I'll use IDI Core to do that. So we're just playing detective. And then if it has to go through probate, that typically costs $3,500. And typically the heirs don't want to pay for that. And I don't want to pay for that. So then what I do, I go to our course here, and bear with me, as we get to the library, and I'm going to go back through previous recordings. I'm going to go back to April 24th or 25th. And here is Probate Solutions with attorney Al Nicoletti. He's in Florida, and there's an hour Zoom that we did together. But what he'll do, he'll wait to get paid until the probate's completed. So now the heirs of Madeline, they don't want to pay for probate up front. They're not paying the taxes. So I can contact them and say, I can provide a solution for you where you won't have to pay for probate, and I'm not going to have to pay for probate. And Al Nicoletti will get his money when we close escrow. So I know I could sell it for $20,000, and then I know probate's going to cost me $3,500. And so I'd try to negotiate my all-in at about $10,000. Maybe offer them around $6,500, somewhere in there. Probate's going to be $3,500. Sell it for $20,000 and make a profit of $10,000. So that is one example of low credit score, over 65, low income. And so that's one example of what I call prospecting, or instead of the shotgun approach, you're doing more of the laser approach or the sniper approach. We're looking at individual property as opposed to mailing out 4,000 letters on this list here. And that process that we went through takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes. In 45 minutes, I went through 3 of them quickly. Now I'm going to show you another example here. And this next example is a property that's going to tax deed sale. So I have my bookmarks here. You guys see my screen okay? Okay.
Yes.
So here's tax deed sales. And this is another one I'm going to use kind of the sniper approach and go through the records and see if there's one that really makes sense. So I'm going to April 2nd, and these people either will pay the delinquent taxes, they'll lose the property, or they'll sell it to someone like us. So the one that I picked as an example, here's one on North P Street. The delinquent taxes are $2,400. And I'm going to go through the process again. I'm going to close some of these windows here and North P Street. And I can see, click on the appraiser record here. And this one, similar to the last one, is in the estate. So Jesse King is deceased. I can see previously there were values for improvements, and now it's 0. That's an indicator that there was a house there that was torn down. And since it's going to tax deed sale, it won't show me the back taxes here, but what I can find out, and here we'll get back to the same record, North P Street, right here, and there's a magnifying glass here. And in Escambia County, when a property is getting ready to go to sale, they run a preliminary title report to see are there any liens or anything. This was the application for the people that bought a tax certificate, tell the county to sell the property. And as I scroll down, this is the appraiser record there, and I continue. This is a preliminary title report, a property information report. And when I get here, it's going to let me know, is there anything wrong with the property? We find no evidence of death for Jesse King, but here it shows there were code enforcement orders in favor of Escambia County. Well, I don't know how much those are. So what I can do is go back to the court recorder, the clerk, and I'm going to do a name search. And I'm going to put in name, King, Jesse. So again, I'm just prospecting, and some of these make sense to follow up with and some don't. But the one thing I'm not doing, I'm not sending out 4,000 pieces of mail. I'm finding ones that I know I want to buy. So here's what's filed in his name. There are all sorts of things filed in his name. And usually I'll sort by newest to oldest. And you can see here something called a certified cost order. That's going to show me. I'll show you the document. And you can see here, this property has 18,350 in liens. It's probably worth $25,000. Plus, I would have to pay for probate, and I have to pay the delinquent taxes. So all in, just paying off the bills is about $26,000. But what I can do, and you can do in many counties, I can't get this $4,500 waived. That says county abatement fees. They tore the house down. What I can get waived is this $13,600. So I go back to the property record. See if I can get back to the property record for North P. property. It's assessed at $20,000. Now I'm going to look at some comps, some comparables. Going to get rid of some of these overlays here. And typically I'm looking for wetlands. I click on wetlands and flood zones and they'll highlight if there are any, which there aren't, but I can also click on vacant sales. And I'm just trying to get an idea of the value to see if this one makes sense to follow up with. And what I can see is this property right here, identical, sold for $26,000 right there. So I've got an idea. I can sell this probably for about 25, 26. And I can see who bought it and I can see when they bought it. They paid $26,000 for this 2 years ago. So it's probably worth maybe $28,000 or so now. So again, I'm just going to go through the process. I'm going to look at our property. We've looked at the tax deed sale site. That's where we got it. I looked at the recorder's office to see that there were code enforcement liens and put his name in the county recorder. And I got this. So now I want to see, okay, I'm going to go back to IDI Core here. And earlier today, I put his name in here. So then the way I did it, instead of putting his name this time, I put the property address because I wanted to see, let's see, here's the property address, 4203 North P Street. In IDI, I put in the property address here and I did a search and you can see he's deceased. And over here on the right, no relative. So what I did is I'm looking here, the property address again is 4203 North P Street. Here's Lakeisha here. And one of her previous addresses was 4203 North P Street. And I thought maybe she's a relative. And when I clicked on parents, that's the mom right there. But when I clicked on siblings, here's Alicia King, here's Jesse King. So Alicia King and Lakeisha are most likely sisters and children of Jesse King. So the next thing I did, I clicked on Alicia King and I'd done that here. And I can see now I have her phone number. I can see where she lives. As far as Alicia's concerned, this property has $18,000 in liens and the taxes are $3,000 and they're probably not interested at all. So the next thing I did, I went to Alicia and have her information and then I clicked on her criminal history because I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to pay for probate. I'm going to have to get Alicia and the sister to sign an agreement with me. But as you look at the screen here, look at Alicia's criminal record: careless driving, open container, worthless check, trafficking and cocaine, first degree misdemeanor, cocaine sales. So as I go back to the lead, I can probably sell it for $26,000. And my cost, it's going to be $4,500 for code enforcement liens. I have to pay that. I'm going to have to pay the back taxes, which are about $3,000. That's $7,500. And out of the money in escrow, $3,500 is going to come out. So now I'm going to be into it for about $11,000. So I want to go ahead and follow up with the two sisters. I'm going to go ahead and call them tomorrow, send them the agreement and see if they'll sign it. And what I'm going to offer them is you're going to lose this property. This property is going to be lost April 2nd or 5th at the tax deed sale, and you'll end up with nothing. I'll go ahead and pay for the probate. I'll pay for the back taxes. I'll give you each $1,000. And so now I'm going to be into it for $11,000. And if we can do all that and get it done before probate, there's a potential profit here of approximately $15,000. Hi, Donna. I'm reviewing Jesse King that we reviewed today. I just reviewed another property and I'm going to review another one. And I've been prospecting this afternoon and I've got another one that looks real good too that I think we should pursue. So I spent 45 hours prospecting since earlier today, and I've got 3 or 4 properties that I think I can make offers on.
Excellent. I got 200 in the mail. So
oh my goodness, good.
I did something.
That's the way to go. So I'm going to go ahead and go on to the third one here, and I'm going to go to my spreadsheet, and it was the number 55 here. And as you can see here, the credit score is 500 to 549. They're making $20,000 a year. It shows they're 95 to 110, so probably very deceased. And I'm going to go ahead and close some of these windows up here. And so I start at the appraiser's website. I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet and gather this parcel number right here. And so I try to follow the same system time after time, and then I just get quicker at it. So this is the property, and you can see it's assessed at $6,000. It probably needs to go through probate, but I can see that the property was in the name of Joe Crosby and Willa here, and the mail's going to Michael Crosby here. So the same process I go through. Want to go ahead and look at the taxes and see the heir is not paying the taxes. Potential heir is not paying the taxes. They're 3 years behind, and they're chronically behind, and occasionally they get caught up. So these people are deceased. The mail's going here. He's not paying them. So I did the same thing. I went to the recorder's office and put in the people on title's name and see what else shows up in their name. And I'll go from newest to oldest. And so I'm just seeing if it's something I want to pursue. But you can see there was a tax deed issue 10 years ago, seeing what other issues are here. Sometimes you'll see probate and what have you right here. Some of the properties have already gone through. And then the wife's name was Willa, and not much in her name either. So now I've got, they're 95 to 110 years old. So I go back to IDI Core, and I did some searches earlier today, see if I had done them. Okay, Joe Crosby. He was 98. He's deceased, and I can see children here. So now in this case, if it has to go through probate, which it does, now I'm dealing with 3 heirs. So that does make it a little more complicated. So it may be one I want to pursue or not. And one reason I might not want to is it's assessed very low, and it may not make sense to pay the $3,500 and go through probate because it's assessed so low. The value's not high enough. So I'm going to go ahead and look for some comps. Here's one right across the street that sold for $7,500. But without digging super deep and doing an appraisal on it, say it's worth $10,000 and probate's going to cost $3,500. The back taxes are going to be not too bad, about $700. So my cost would probably be $5,000. If I can sell it for 10, I'm not going to be able to give Michael Crosby a lot of money. I might say I can go ahead and do this, give you $1,500. So it may be one to pursue. And then I'm going to go ahead and do one more here. This one has a little bit higher assessed value, and I basically went through the same process. So she's deceased. See if the back taxes show up. And you can see they're about 4 or 5 years behind. Then I like to look at the property, great corner lot, and see a little bit higher values. This one right here sold for $23,000. Ours it's not too deep right there. So I just have to make a decision. Does it make sense to pursue? And as I'm going through these leads, to prioritize them. So here's Maddie Stewart right here and Maddie Stewart right here. But if I did want to talk to the relatives, I can see the property, or here's the property. See if I can find the relatives here, children. Here's Amanda Stewart right here. So it'd be pretty easy to go ahead and call her. But as I go back to the lead, we can see that, well, she's deceased, low credit score, no income, elderly, but the property itself, nobody's paying the taxes. They're just not being paid. So a lot of times it's just that they don't want the property. And if I go here, we can go to Amanda, and here's Amanda, and she lives nearby, but there's her cell phone number right there. So as opposed to going to all these where the credit scores are 700-800 right here, I can go ahead and do a list and really focus by the ones that fit into our niche list. And so the 2 categories I've worked so far today, I started with prioritizing the credit scores, and I looked for the lowest ones. And after I did that, then I sorted by age. I'm looking for low credit scores, typically above 60 years old. That, and also I went to the tax deed sale list and found the people that are going to lose their property quick. And then I did the same thing with Jesse King, and he wasn't on this spreadsheet here, but I went ahead and just got his name off from going to the tax deed sale list. And we could go out to May or whatever month and go through these, find ones that are vacant land, and then just run it through the same system. Find out, are they still alive? What is their situation? So that's the process I'm going through when I'm prospecting. And this was an example from prospecting. Share the screen one more time.
Couple of questions, Michael, when you get a chance. My first question is, what's the potential selling price for any of the properties that you just went through after all of the back taxes and all the fees you have to pay? And the question number 2 is, could you walk us through a typical conversation with one of these heirs who seem to have a lot of certain background? What does that look like, also in light of possible recent death in their family?
Yeah, typically when I do these, I won't do anyone that passed away within the last year. I'm not interested in someone that just passed away 4 weeks ago and now I'm contacting them. I just don't do that. But as far as the value, what I do, we'll go back here. I'll just pull up and look at the comps. So what I find is, what can I sell it for? I want to find out, what can I sell it for? Let me see if I can find a better one here. Okay, we're going to go back to this one here, North P Street. First thing, I click on the record and I want to know what I can sell it for. It's assessed at $20,000. We found an identical property, I believe, that sold for $26,000. And we're going to look at comps. And this property right here is zoned exactly the same and exactly the same dimensions right there. $26,000. So the first thing I do is figure out, what can I sell it for? And then I find out, what are the bills that I have to pay? So in this case, I had to pay, if we did it, there's $4,500 in abatement fees that the county needs to get paid back when they tore a house down. So now I know I got to pay $4,500. The back taxes are $3,000, and I'm into it for $7,500. Probate's going to cost me $3,500, and I'm into it for $11,000. And what I'd probably offer both kids would be $1,000 each. One has alcohol problems and the other one has cocaine problems. They live out of the area, and the code enforcement liens on this are about $19,000. They can't get that waived. So if they were to try to solve this, it would cost them $25,000, $26,000. The way that we're going to make money is we can get those code enforcement liens waived. So I figure out what can I sell it for, and then I put my cost in there, and then I put in profit. And I would give them very little money because we looked at their situations, and the way it is now, they can't get anything. They can make no money on the property at all. There's too many liens and what have you. So I looked at her situation. I ran the background on her. And so in this case, I would offer them, look at all this here. I would offer them $1,000 each. And then the conversation with them would be, and I can go ahead and give her a call if you want.
Wow, I love that, but I want to know at what point do you know that you can waive those fees? That's not a given.
It is pretty 99.9% given. In Escambia County, this check right here was coded. We made that from code. That was a code enforcement lien right there. That's what we got because we can typically get code enforcement liens waived.
So can I say that's true for every county that I contact?
There's 3,100 counties in the United States. Many of them will waive. It's called soft cost. Their hard cost is when the county had to pay the contractor $4,000 to tear the house down. Soft cost would be there's an abandoned car there and they're fining $50 a day. After a year, that's $18,000 in fines. They won't waive that for the person that owns the property, not usually. But if I buy the property and it's in our name, and we talk to code enforcement before we do the transaction, we know before that we can go ahead and get those waived.
Okay, so you need to talk to them ahead of time, really.
Yeah, and I don't know how many we've done, not 5 or 6 probably. And it's a 2-page form we fill out. They like it because we fill it out correctly. And so what I would need to do here, and I'm not quite sure how this call is going to go. I'm not dealing with people that are perfect citizens. So I'm going to call Danielle and we'll just see how it goes. Maybe she had a good relationship. Maybe she did not have a good relationship. Jeff, how you doing? Good. We've been going over prospecting and finding people that we think that really need to sell and going through the process when I look at those. So we looked at the different niches we market to, and I'm going to pull up a spreadsheet. And as I go through some of these, you can see the credit scores, the income, and the ages. And there are a few of these here, like this one here, 499 credit score, $20,000 a year, 5 years old. And then I go through a process. I go to the appraiser's website, see if the property makes sense, put the person's name in the recorder's website and see what issues there are. Try to figure out.
This is Versium, right?
Yeah, this is continued Versium there. So now we just did this with a record here. We have the wrong one, but it's Jesse King, and he's deceased. We skip traced the daughters, and they have issues. You can see their arrest issues here: trafficking, cocaine, first degree misdemeanor, so on. And so this property is going to tax deed sale in about 6 weeks. So there's 2 issues. It's going to tax deed sale in 6 weeks, and it's got about $19,000 in lien. They can't get the liens waived. I can get the liens waived. So now I'm just going to go ahead and call one of these cell numbers up here, and it says Decatur, that's as area code 404, and we have no idea how this is going to go. So yeah, just stay muted.
Please leave your message for.
Oh, I'm trying to get hold of Alicia King. My name's Michael Robertson. I'm in Pensacola, and I wanted to talk to you about the property on North P Street. It looks like it may be going to a tax deed sale soon, and wanted to see if you may entertain an offer. We'd be interested in purchasing it. Michael Robertson, 850-377-2203. Thank you. That might have been the wrong number. I couldn't really understand what she said. And it's unusual. I see new cell phone in February, new cell phone in July, another one here in June. So I'll try that one as well.
Leave your message for.
I'm trying to get hold of Alicia King. My name's Michael Robertson in Pensacola, and I'm interested in a property I believe your dad had. It looks like it's going to a tax deed sale here in about 6 weeks, and my wife and I would be interested in making you an offer to purchase that. If you can give me a call, 850-377-2203, and it's going to sale, I believe, April 2nd or April 5th, and just wanted to get hold of you and see if we can potentially work something out. Thank you. Anyway, there are probably people that don't want to get hold of look at the situation there, but that's the process that I would go through. So going to the spreadsheet, going through it and looking for the people that most likely need to sell. Could be low credit score, $20,000 a year in income, age 65 to 75, and just prospecting. We're just mining like the gold miners. Put in the assessor parcel number.
Excuse me, Michael, is that the first list you use? Is that the Versium?
No,
What do you
this,
start with?
this is PropStream information here.
Okay, so it starts with PropStream.
Yeah, so I'll go to PropStream and I'll build a list, but not all the list in PropStream, many of them. But then I'll run it through Versium so I can do a campaign. And again, here's our campaign. But as you look here, these are the niches that I market to. And you can see some of them, the data comes from Versium. So age 65 and plus, Versium, credit scores, Versium. And some of these lists the tax deed sale list comes from Escambia County. The first two here just come from PropStream. So they're different data sources, but eventually I like to run them all through Versium. So those are the niches. And then I get the data for those niches in different places. And then after I get it, some of this just came from PropStream. And as I scroll over here, I think there's a column. These are codes for the niche list here, like unpaid taxes. CJ means a death certificate. This list was 15 years in local, out of state and out of county. So they come from a variety of sources, but then I like to get them and I can sort by these individual categories. So if I wanted to do a sort by just age.
What's the current cost of Versium?
I'm going to answer it two ways. Last year I paid $3,600. It gave me the equivalent of skip tracing. It gives you phone numbers and emails and age, the equivalent of 70,000 leads or 5 cents a lead. I didn't need 70,000 leads. My goal is to get my leads down to about 1,000. I didn't renew it, but I had a guest speaker on, Nicholas Nick, and he has a lead finding business. He finds leads for people and calls. So I talked to him, he uses Versium. I said, will you run lists for me? So I ran 2 lists this week. The first one was 31 records. I ran one this morning that was 109 records. I told him I'd pay him 12 cents per lead. So now if I get 1,000 leads, it's going to cost me $20. I would rather pay $120 than $3,600. And when we did the 3,600, I shared it with the teammates and I could run them for them. But I reached an agreement with Nicholas Nick that we'd send a list of at least 1,000 records and he would charge 12 cents a record for 100.
It's a really good program, but it's very expensive. And you're right. Who has a need for such a high number of leads? I wish they would offer something much more reasonable in terms of number of leads, in terms of prices.
Yeah.
So I've been looking at
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Michael. I've been looking at Deal Machine. They have free skip tracing and they offer a lot of the same information Versium does.
Yeah, and we have in our library, we've had Deal Machine on and we've had Versium on. And if you go here to the recordings, let's see, here's Nicholas Nick right here. And the week before, 2 weeks before, we had Deal Machine right here. So they both were presenters and you can go ahead and review that in there as well. But yeah, I'm always happy to learn more about what's available. My list initially used to be about 4,000 records. I've got it about 2,500 and I'm trying to get it down to about 1,000. So what I'm doing is getting 1,000 people that most likely need to sell, as opposed to 4,000 where I'm mailing to people that have owned for 15 years or longer that live out of state. And some of those will sell. I'm finding the people that need to sell. And so as a result, if I'm going to pay 12 cents a record for 1,000 records, I'm comfortable with that. Do you have any samples of Deal Machine information, Jeff?
No, I'm just looking into it. It has free skip tracing now.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I'd be happy to dig further into it. Maybe I need to revisit Deal Machine, but we all have different needs. One of our teammates mailed 4,000 letters in January. And so that's going to cost about $2,800. My suggestion was find the people that need to sell. So the 3 deals that I presented tonight, those are people that I believe need to sell. And it took me, 30, 35 minutes today going through about 5 of these and finding ones that need to sell. I'm comfortable getting on the phone and calling Alicia King.
Michael, that is a very sound approach, in my opinion, the sniper approach, as opposed to just throwing spaghetti at the ceiling and see what sticks. It's much more cost effective and also less time consuming.
Yeah, I can be watching TV and I have the laptop there and I'm just sitting there prospecting. I go, oh, shoot, here's this one. I got one. I can reel it in. It suits me. We have one teammate, I think he does 28,000 pieces of mail a month. I'm happy doing 2 or 3 deals a month. This one right there, that was a code enforcement lien right there. It was the sniper approach. And the 3 that I went over, maybe one of them turns into a deal. If I did, that's today, and I turn one of them into a deal. So then I'll take the information. If they're not interested now, I'll put it in a CRM and I'll tell it to mail out a letter today, mail out another one in 3 months, mail out another one in 3 months, and then put a phone call in there. And they may not be ready today, but wait till November 1st when they get their tax bill.
Michael, how far out from the taxes that they're going to foreclose, or do you go out from 30 days to give you time to?
Yeah, I would not do, it can vary. If it's gone through probate already and someone's deceased, that's okay. I could do that. But I have one and it has to go through probate. I'm going to need some time. So this one here is one that we did, North P Street. This guy, and this is the parent of the woman that I just called, but this one is going to sale April 2nd right here. So I don't know if I could get that done in that time frame, but as I go back in Escambia County, this goes out till July. So ideally what I do is go through all these, and the ones in July, and there might be one or two on this list. Like this one's vacant land right here. I can tell low dollar amount in the far right column, it says 600 block. And so that one is 11,700. It's going to tax deed sale. What did I say? In July, I may mail to him 2 or 3 times. And then if I click on the taxes, it's not going to show that information there.
On that one, it says vacant commercial. Do you go off to commercial property also?
Yeah, I didn't look at it that close.
Yeah.
You know, what I'd do is look at it and see what's allowed under that zoning. I've got the planning and zoning maps, and then I would go ahead and I'd Google Earth it and see what's this look like. And this is the one on North P Street right there, and see if it's something that made sense or not. Yeah, typically I would not go after commercial, but just go in here and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just prospecting, but trying to move them way through the funnel. So instead of the top third, I'm at like the bottom 15th or 20th, way down there. So I'm going to spend a lot less on marketing, finding people that need to sell. And the spreadsheet needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but I can do campaigns by income. I could do one. I could do it by age. I could do it by credit score. I have about 40% of the emails. I don't do email marketing. I've got the phone numbers. And typically I'll go through the first 3. It goes 6 phone numbers out. And typically you get out here and they're not good. So in this list here, we have, I don't know, what do I have? For about 4,000 records here. I would like to see a spreadsheet from Deal Machine.
Do you have a lot of elderly on that list, like 75 and over?
Let's go ahead and look.
I'm just curious.
There's one, you get in the Facebook groups and one guy just markets to people 85 and over. Instead of someone that's deceased, I'd rather find someone that's maybe 70 years old that has low credit score, that maybe they live out of state. These people here, state, you can sort by this as well. Most of them are Florida.
Is that easier going for deceased, just looking for older people?
Either way, it's not necessarily one or the other. Deceased just adds another layer in there. But what happens is if I find the deceased people and the mail's going to the kid and they're not paying the bills, they do not want the property. I just have to solve the problem. And the problem could be probate, and I'm okay with that. But you can see here, Donna, here's the people who are probably all deceased here. But we'll go down to maybe see how many records I have till I get to 65 to 75.
That's a lot. It's a lot of records.
Yeah, we're still going. And I'm not adverse to someone having a high credit score, but what I'd probably look for is age, maybe income. And then the next thing I might look for, maybe out of state. And that's where I'd start prospecting. But as I keep going here, these people have probably owned here's about 900 record. They probably own for 20 years or longer. Many of them live out of state. And I can just slice and dice it by, okay, this one here, make it 20 to 50,000. That didn't show a credit score. And so this is just prospecting. So I just take the assessor parcel or the account number, go to the appraiser's website and just see if it looks like it makes sense. No, it didn't find it. So I go back. Instead of that, I'd go to property address. It didn't like that either. Well, I just go to the next one. And that's what I'm doing. I'm prospecting, and just like the guy out there gold mining in the olden days. And occasionally you get a nugget, and it's just I'm looking for a good mining spot. So now I found a good mining spot. I'm going to find more nuggets.
What type of liens can you not get rid of?
They're all pretty negotiable. Most of the ones I've done have been code enforcement. The taxes have to be paid. IRS liens, hospital liens you can get waived. One of the ones I was prospecting today, they had hospital liens from like 20 years ago. They're deceased. And say the hospital bill was $5,000. I bet they'd settle for maybe $50. So you can go ahead and negotiate those, but you can also go ahead.
How would you find a hospital lien?
I'm going to the recorder, and again, I get too many windows open. And so here it says document type. Here's categories, here's liens. And so I went through these one at a time to find out which is which kind of lien. But the CCO, it means certified cost order. These are code enforcement liens. But if we put in, don't recall one I pulled up today, and they had hospital lien, and it had the document right there. And I haven't tried to negotiate hospital liens away. Most of the ones we do, because I'll pull a list based on code enforcement liens. So that's a specific target for us. So if I go here and I'm going to clear everything, and I just know it's certified cost order, and I can search back go back 90 days and just see if there are any. It's not going to tell me necessarily if it's vacant land or not, but here, these are all certified cost orders. So we can click on one. Some of them are $250 and some of them are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I can click and I can see the cost order here, $21,900. The county abatement, if this is vacant land, this might be a good one. $5,500 I can't get waived, but I can get waived that $21,900. So what I could do to cross-check, we have Billups, Mary E. Billups. I go to the appraiser's website. It's detective work. Didn't pull it up. So what might have happened is this property might not be in her name any longer. Let's try Annie Bolden.
Michael, just to be clear, let's say they agree to that, then you call the county to waive the liens, right? And then you take it to the title company after that, after you say the liens are waived?
Yeah, it's catch-20. If I take it to the title company, I can't get a warranty deed because the title's not clear.
Mm-hmm.
And they may make an exception to warrant the property with the exception of the lien. But to get this waived, I have to buy the property. It has to be in my name.
Oh, okay.
So let's say I'm going to give Annie Bolden $5,000. So I pay her the $5,000. I'm not paying any of this other stuff off. I paid $5,000. But what I do, I have the title company still run a title report for me. And I'll see in it that everything's good except this. And then I'm comfortable with that. So if I know everything's good in the title report, except the lien, I'll go ahead and buy the property, get it in my name, then I'll pay the lien off, and now I can get clear title. So there is a little risk, but to minimize it, I'll pay, or the title company will run a free title report for me. And I'll see everything's perfect except this one thing. And then I'll ask the title company if I go ahead and get the liens paid off, then I can get a warranty deed. And then I turn around and sell the property with a warranty deed. But just as an example, I just went to the recorder and I put CCO, which is certified cost order. We just clicked on one and you can see there. And so the next thing I want to do is find out, do they still own this property? Or, and let's say they don't own the property and someone else bought it, those liens are still attached to the property. Most people don't know that.
Wait a second. When you said somebody else, if somebody else buys it, the liens are still attached. Doesn't the title company remove those prior to sale? I'm confused.
Yeah, once in this example, I pay this $5,500. I get this $21,900 waived. Now there's no more liens against the property. They're all, and so now the title, the property's in my name. The title company does a search. There's no lien, so I can get a warranty deed or sell it with the warranty deed. But this is where we make money. Is and the example of Mr. Rivers that we ran earlier, he's got $19,000 in liens, and it's worth $25,000. So $19,000 in liens, $3,500 for probate, so that's $22,500. And $3,000 in back taxes. There's encumbrances against the property for $26,000. The daughters aren't going to pay $26,000 for a property that's worth $26,000, but
right.
I'd give them each $1,000, and then I'd get those liens waived. And you could there's probably an easier way to do this. I could take this file and download it into a spreadsheet and probably manipulate the data much better.
I wish it was easy to do for each county. There's so many steps that if you don't understand the county website, it's complicated.
And that's being better at the data. And it is a process, but it's just, okay, step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, step number 4. So it's similar to when we're looking at a background on someone. We go to our spreadsheet and it looks good. Then I go to the appraiser's website and just do my due diligence on a property. Does it look like a property we want? Are there back taxes? Then I'll put their name in the recorder's office and see what comes up. The recorder's office and see what comes up. Google Earth it. I'll look for comps. And then if it keeps saying going forward, then I'll go ahead and call and or mail the current potential heirs or the current owner.
For you, you can do 5 of these a day. No problem.
Oh, I could do 5. I could prospect for 5,
tonight.
Say an hour and a half. Yeah, an hour and a half, I could prospect for 5, but there may be no deals in there. There may be 2 deals in there, but I'm working on 5 leads, and I'm probably want to end up even calling 3 of them. But then there's 2 other ones there. I know these are deals. I just have to solve the problem. So as we kind of resort, that's highest to lowest. And so where I start is here, and maybe not do someone quite so old. So we'll look at one that's maybe 55. So I'm probably not dealing with heirs. So I'd say, oh, they're making $200,000 a year with terrible credit. But here, a credit score of 499, 65 to 75, probably still living. And that's my first step, is just going to the appraiser's website to see if I get a hit here. Assessed at $15,000. Here's Randall Sherman. And this one may not work. It looks like the property may have just been quick claimed here. But in these previous 2 here, these were people that died. CJ and CJ were people that died. But I can click here and see see maybe the property was gifted to him, or maybe it's a different family. Yeah, it went from one Riley here to another Riley. So it's still in the same family right here. And what I don't know is if I have the current owner here or a previous owner. I have W. Riley, and this is Sherman Riley. So it might be a good lead, but this credit score 499 is not for this guy right here. So then we just go on prospect to the next one. Same thing, low credit score, low income, 65 to 75. Click on the appraiser link.
So Michael, when would you do a quick claim deed?
When would I do one?
Yeah.
Usually I do warranty deeds, but if I'm not going through a title company, let's say it's a property I'm buying for $2,000 and I don't want to go through a title company, and I find a buyer, I may just quick claim it to them.
Do you do that in person or meet the
The last one we did, the guy bought it for $4,300 23 years ago. I bought it from him for $2,000, and I met him at the UPS store. He quick claimed it to me.
Okay.
So all I did then, I listed it with the realtor, and she sold it in 6 hours for $10,000. But the person that we sold it to, they got a warranty deed. But this might be a good one here. Charles Creamer owns a property. It's not exactly an area that I like, but the property original owners in 1996 had it, and it looks like someone died in 2022. It'll take a second to load. Death certificate for Linda Sue Creamer. This is probably the husband here. And then the next thing I'd look at, okay, what are the taxes? And a lot of times when you're looking at the low credit scores, look, 2 years behind. Low credit score, his wife's deceased, the property's in his name, but that would be one. If I like this area, I don't like this town of Century here, but it's 3 acres. And that, if I like the area, that would be a good one to follow up with. But understanding the situation, they've owned it for almost 30 years. The wife's deceased. He's behind on the taxes, and you look at his record here, he's just more likely to sell. It doesn't mean that he's going to, but a lot better chance of success. So that's just what I'm doing. I'm just prospecting. And if I wanted someone a little bit younger, I could do the 55 to 65s. Look at this guy's making 200,000 a year. I'd probably do.
So you're just trying to go after the pain points and then list stack as many pain points as possible.
Yeah, it's list stacking. There's a software called REI Sift, and it's a great tool for list stacking. So sometimes I'll have someone that's on 8 lists, and you can sort by how many lists they're on. But I'm not a fan of the owner of the company, so I don't use that product anymore. Yeah, it's list stacking. So right here, we're list stacking on 3 things right here: credit score, income, and age. And if you wanted to, you could also list stack it by, let's do the same thing, but let's find someone that lives out of state. So now out of state.
Ryan Smith does a lot of list stacking.
Yeah, Ryan's great with the data. I've got this guy's 25 to 35, terrible credit score, low income.
He could have inherited it.
Maybe, and the property looks like it's in care of someone, so I'm not quite sure. So same thing, just prospecting.
Do you have your VA do this sometimes, or?
I'm not using Louise anymore, so I'm doing most of it actually. Yeah. So here we could have list stacked, but I might not do this one because there's 4 owners, and that's going to be too hard to maybe get them all to agree. But I could see, and you look here, all these $100, quick claim, death certificates, quick claim. And I look at the taxes, and they're probably delinquent. Yeah, they're unpaid. They have some tax issues there. The challenge is now I've got to get 4 people to agree. Good thing though, they might be, he lives out of the area, but this property is probably worth $40,000. So maybe it's worth that process there. And I'd go through the same thing here, look at some comps real quick.
So for that, it'd be the attorney, right, that does the probate.
This one here may not have to go through oh yeah, there's one here that's in the estate of here. I'd probably pass on it, but it's a great lot. Lots 5, 6, 7, and 8, and maybe this might be worth $100,000. And some people like the real messy ones. It just depends if you want to deal with it. It's going to be a longer process, but there's potential for great profit. But look at these comps here; they're probably going to be really good. 17,000. So this could be subdivided. Actually, it could be subdivided maybe into 4 lots. Yeah, this is 30 feet wide, 30 feet wide. This is 120 feet. You could potentially subdivide this into 4 lots right there. It's pick your pain. This would not be at the top of my list, having 4 people. There we go. Right there. And there one's in the estate, but just a guess would be that maybe it's worth $70,000. Because it says here lots 5, 6, 7, and 8. It's very easy to subdivide this. It's a very easy process.
To subdivide that, you just contact the city?
Yeah, this one's in the county. I just call it contact planning and zoning. And typically, if it's under 5 parcels, it's a minor subdivision. And sometimes you just have to have a survey, and that's it. A survey, and I think they submit it to the appraiser's office and subdivide it.
Because you already have the legal description that it was all those lots before.
Yeah,
right?
there's the lots before, and you can see here, let me launch this map.
Roughly, do you know how much it costs to subdivide something like that? The simple subdivide.
I'm guessing $1,500.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, easy. But what I'd look at here, don't let me ramble too much, but I'm going to look at, let's see, they had previous dimensions. Let's see, history lines there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, this would be easy. And I don't know if it'd take 2 or 3 weeks probably. So maybe it is one that's worth following up. And I would start with Gerard right here. And same thing. I could put Willie Gates's name in the recorder's office and see what's in his name. Maybe it had gone through probate, and we'll do that. And then I sort again, newest. It was going to tax deed sale. Here you can see. I'm just looking for probate or something. I don't see anything in Willie's name. He may have passed away in another county and it wouldn't show. I would start right here. It would probably be worth a phone call. And if there's 4 people, I usually make 1/5 is in Willie Gates's name. So let's say he's got three heirs. So now you're dealing with his 3 heirs and these other 3 people. So now you're dealing with 6 people. But it would be worth a phone call. And I'd talk to Gerard, say we're interested in the property on Tarragona. They're behind on the taxes. I think 3 years. Nobody wants to pay them. Go ahead.
How do you navigate the conversation among the 6 different people? Do you talk with one of them and suggest to talk to the others?
Yeah.
Or you talk with each individual?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to, but another thing you can do, see if Gerard here owns 2/5, I can buy his interest. I can be the owner of 2/5 of this property, but that's not a situation I'm interested in. But if I bought 2/5 and then I bought another 1/5, you can go to court and force them to sell the property. But if I was doing that I'd be up in the $100,000 or $200,000 properties. I probably wouldn't be here. So I wouldn't want to talk to 5 people. When we ran Jesse King earlier, there's 2 daughters. I would be very happy to do that. But trying to put this together with 5, I'd probably deal with Gerard and say, this is a deal. My offer expires. I'd give him an expiration date on it. And if that was too much of a pain, I'd just move on to the other ones here on my list. So that was just prospecting right there. Finding low credit score, low income. He was 25 to 35 years old. I could go ahead and run him through an IDI core so I understand it a little bit better. Now that would be the process.
Michael, I've been wanting to ask you all the leads that you have already set up on that Excel sheet. Where did those initially come from? Like, where would we be pulling those from again? I forgot.
Where I start is here. My generic list is through PropStream. And then, so you can see these are the 14 niches I market to. And I would suggest trying 1 or 2 of them. Don't try all 4. But if they're just traditional, PropStream, I can do out of state and out of county. If I want to do some of these other lists, I don't pull them through PropStream. So like tax deed sales here, that's not typically a PropStream list. Then I go to tax deed sales for Florida for Escambia County. And then this list is more getting them one at a time. I have to look at these records. Some of the other list I'll get from the appraiser's office, not directly from PropStream. So an example would be an advanced search, and Ryan Smith does this. I'll do my best here. Sometimes what I'm going to show you works and sometimes it doesn't, but I'm looking for, we'll do it here. I'm going to put in here $100. So sometimes when a mom gifts a property to a son, it's not a sales price, it's just a gift. And the placeholder on the appraiser's website is $100. So I'm looking for vacant land and it says instrument type. And so I'm going to do, this is probate, this is a death certificate, and this is a quick claim deed. And what I'm doing is building the $100 list that you see here. And again, sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't. And typically if I'm doing a $100 list, I want properties that transferred within the last 5 years, not 15 or 20 years ago. So what I'm looking for in the last year, the mother that gifted the property to the son, maybe 2 years ago, someone passed away and it went through probate. And then I'm going to do a search. And again, sometimes it works, and it did. So now you see all these properties here transferred for $100 right here. And OT, I believe, means death certificate. QC is quick claim. But just to show you an example of one of these records, we'll click on one. And this one has a shed or something on it. But you can see the last time the property transferred in 2024, it shows $100. And if I want to look at that document, we'll see what the issue was. And you can see here that a death certificate was filed. But usually if I'm going to do a death certificate, I don't want to go back within the last year. I want to search from 2 to 5 years ago. So a lot of the lists come from PropStream, but then I'll take my PropStream list and run it through Versium. And when I do that, this is the additional information I get. This is PropStream information on my screen, but then as I get over here, this is Versium information, credit score, income, age, and it will give me typically phone numbers, emails, and I would clean this up a little bit, but these are phone numbers here. So they don't all come from PropStream. They come from a variety of sources.
Okay, but I
And
think
if
I
you
feel
get
like I just confused myself, but this is a good reference, right?
yeah,
This-
if you get just shoot me a message and we'll hop on a Zoom and we'll spend a little more time on it.
Yeah, and I actually am gonna reach out because I did want to set up, I want to set up like our first call.
Okay.
So I am gonna be reaching out to you soon.
All right. Not tonight.
No, I'm done.
Okay. So anyway, tonight's topic was basically prospecting. I've got 4,000 leads. I'm trying to narrow it down to 2,000, down to 1,000, and pick the 1,000 records. And some of the filters that I can use are credit score, age, income, people that live out of the area. And now that I have so few, many of them, I can just go ahead and find one that lives out of state. I'd say, okay, they live out of state, trying to find the property record. And right now that I'm prospect. So instead of mailing to 1,000 people tonight, my goal would be, let me come up with 5 good leads where I can make maybe 3 offers tomorrow. So I just got that guy's APN, put it in here. He lives in Georgia, and just very quickly, if it doesn't make sense, I'll just move on. But he bought this property for $69,000. Maybe it used to have a house on it because it's only assessed at $10,000. He lives in Atlanta, and I'll click at the taxes real quick and see, does it make sense to go forward? And if it doesn't, then I'll move on to the next one, or I'll just, if I didn't like it, color code it, or there. Turn my list into green and red. Was that helpful?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Just like what Donna said, it's a lot, but it's definitely practice. It seems
The
too.
logo in the course is how to eat an elephant. It's one bite at a time. So don't worry about mastering it all. Just take a bite and then just take the next bite. I'm studying a software program right now, and I look at it and I go, oh my gosh, this is so much. And so I'm just going to dig in and just take a bite and then figure out, how do I mail this letter? How do I set up an automatic mail sequence? And just take bites at a time instead of trying to master it all and not getting started.
Yeah. And for example, like that's exactly why I'm like, just this past week, I was like, I'm going to reach out to you. I'm going to set up that call because I feel it happening. I feel the overthinking, like the thinking and the overanalyzing starting to happen. And that's exactly where I always get stuck. So I feel like before that officially happens, I'm like, I have to reach out to you so that you can help me and just push me off the edge and just do one.
This was just Monday, this 2 days ago. So now sitting here tonight, we went through a few of those, and I probably have 3 properties that I could go ahead and make offers on tomorrow. We called that Alicia King. I'm not sure if we had the right number. And then let's say I did 3 properties a day during working days, 60 in a month. There's got to be 2 or 3 deals in there.
Oh, you know what, really quick, what I did want to ask you, I've heard you mention before, I forgot, I did send out just a handful of letters, like maybe 2 weeks ago, and one of them came back with that undeliverable stamp. And I've heard you say that's, like a good thing sometimes. What would you do with that now? Now I have that back with that sticker that says undeliverable. What do you do with that?
I would do 2 things. There is a website. I think it's cyberbackgroundcheck.com. I got this from Gordon. It might be cyber background checks. I'm not sure. Okay, here it is, checks. I would go ahead and I put it in here, first name, last name, city, and see if you can get it. And that's where I use this IDI core sometimes too. It's $1.75, but typically, like Alicia King that we called, typically I can be on the phone with someone very quick, but I love return mail because if other people are mailing to them, the sellers are not getting that mail, but they're also probably not getting their tax bill. So I'm not going to pull up a bag that I have here with the 50 pieces of those.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And when we do our session, bring that envelope and we'll go ahead and run it through here. We'll look at the property and call them.
Michael, I've got to go, but I wanted to thank you for the time, and everything that you've shared was very helpful.
I appreciate it. This recording will be in the library tomorrow. All righty. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys. Sandra, reach out.
Yes.
All
Thank
righty.
you, Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Good night.
Donna, Jay, Jeff.